The yellow sticky note on our refrigerator changed everything. Not because it was particularly shocking. Hell, Claire had been leaving me passive-aggressive reminders for months. But because this one had a title written in her neat, controlling handwriting, Jordan's Rules for Being a Better Husband. Before we dive deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I stood there in my work clothes, still smelling like electrical conduit and copper wire, reading the damn thing while my coffee got cold. Rule number 1. Don't question my friendships. Rule number 2. Respect my space and privacy. Rule number 3. Support my social activities without complaint. There were 7 rules total. 7 commandments handed down from Mount Claire, as if our 12-year marriage had become some kind of corporate restructuring project. "You're home late," Claire called from the living room, not bothering to look up from her laptop. She was always on that thing these days, managing social media accounts for her PR firm. Or at least that's what she told me. "Traffic was murder on Route 1, I said, crumpling the note. "What's this about, Claire?" She finally glanced over, her blonde hair perfectly styled even at 8 p.m. Everything about my wife was perfect. Her makeup, her clothes, her ability to make me feel like I was failing at something I couldn't quite identify. "Just some guidelines," she said with that smile that never reached her eyes anymore. "I think we need better boundaries." Boundaries. That was Claire's favorite word lately. She needed boundaries for her girls' nights out, boundaries for her new friendship with Liam, the personal trainer at her gym, boundaries for pretty much everything that didn't involve me sitting quietly in the corner like a well-trained dog. "Since when do married couples need written rules?" I asked. "Since one of us started acting jealous and possessive." She closed the laptop with a sharp click. "Liam says it's actually pretty common in relationships where one partner feels threatened by the other's success. Liam says." Everything was Liam says these days. Liam, the personal trainer with his protein shakes and motivational Instagram posts. Liam, who had opinions about our marriage despite never having been married himself. "I'm not threatened by your success, Claire. I'm confused by your behavior." "See, this is exactly what I'm talking about." She stood up, smoothing down her yoga pants. "I'm going to bed. Maybe you should read those rules again." I watched her walk upstairs, each step deliberate and cold. We used to talk for hours. We used to laugh together. Now I felt like I was living with a beautiful stranger who tolerated my presence as long as I followed her increasingly complicated set of guidelines. The next morning, I found another note. This one was on my coffee mug. "Remember, trust is the foundation of any relationship." C. Trust. Right. Because nothing builds trust like secret rules and mysterious new friendships with muscle-bound 20-somethings who think they're qualified to give marriage advice. I work as an electrical engineer for Morrison Construction, mostly commercial buildings and the occasional residential project. It's honest work, the kind that leaves your hands dirty and your back sore, but it pays well enough to afford our little house in Millfield and Claire's endless yoga classes and spa treatments. My boss, Marty Morrison, is a straight shooter who's been running electrical projects for 30 years. He took one look at me that morning and knew something was wrong. "You look like hell, Doyle," he said, not bothering with pleasantries. "Wife troubles?" "Something like that." "Want some advice from an old married guy?" "Sure." When they start making rules, they're already gone. The question is whether you want to fight for them or fight for yourself. Marty's words stuck with me all day as I ran conduit through the walls of a new office building. Fight for them or fight for yourself. The problem was, I wasn't sure Claire was worth fighting for anymore. The woman I married, the one who used to leave love notes instead of behavioral guidelines, she seemed to have disappeared somewhere between her promotion at work and her new friendship with Liam. That evening, I decided to test one of Claire's rules. She was getting ready for another girls' night with her friend Ava, which apparently required 2 hours of preparation and an outfit that cost more than I made in a day. "Where are you guys going tonight?" I asked. "Just dinner," she said, not making eye contact. "Rule number 1, remember? I'm not questioning your friendship. I'm asking where my wife is going." Boundaries, Jordan. "Bullshit, Claire." She spun around, her face flushed with anger. "Excuse me?" I said bullshit. We're married, not roommates. Married people talk to each other about their plans. Not when one of them acts like a controlling asshole. The words hit like a slap. In 12 years of marriage, Claire had never called me names. We'd had fights, sure, but always with respect. Always with love underneath the anger. "I'm not controlling," I said quietly. "I'm concerned. There's a difference. Liam says..." "I don't give a damn what Liam says." The words came out louder than I intended. "Liam doesn't live here. Liam didn't promise to love and honor you 12 years ago. Liam doesn't know shit about our marriage. Claire's expression went cold. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe someone who doesn't know our marriage can see it more clearly than someone who's stuck in it. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. I'll be home late. Don't wait up. After she left, I sat in our living room. My living room, really, since Claire had redecorated everything to match her new aesthetic, and tried to figure out when exactly I'd become the villain in my own life. My phone buzzed. A text from Jake Brennan, my best friend since high school and the only cop I knew who'd rather drink beer than chase criminals. Want to grab a drink? Sarah's working late and I'm bored. I texted back, desperately. We met at Murphy's Pub, a dive bar that served decent wings and didn't care if you looked like you'd been wrestling with electrical wire all day. Jake was already there, nursing a Budweiser and scrolling through his phone. You look terrible, he said by way of greeting. Thanks. You're the second person to tell me that today. Claire? Claire's got rules now. Written rules for how I should behave as her husband. Jake nearly choked on his beer. Rules? Like what? I pulled out my phone and showed him the picture I'd taken of the sticky note before throwing it away. Jake read it twice, his expression growing darker with each rule. This is some manipulative bullshit, Jordan. That's what I thought. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I have been too controlling. Controlling how? By expecting your wife to act like she's married? She says I'm threatened by her success. Are you? I thought about it. Claire had gotten promoted 6 months ago, around the same time she'd joined the fancy gym and started her friendship with Liam. She made good money now, better than mine, and I was proud of her. At least I had been. No, I said finally. I'm threatened by the fact that she acts like she's single. When's the last time you two had sex? The question caught me off guard. What? Sex. You know, that thing married people do when they still like each other. I tried to remember. It had been weeks, maybe longer. Every time I'd tried to initiate anything, Claire had been too tired, too stressed, or too busy planning her next social event. It's been a while, I admitted. And when's the last time she acted like she actually wanted to spend time with you? That one was easier to answer. I honestly can't remember. Jake finished his beer and signaled for another. You know what I think? I think your wife is having an affair. The words hung in the air like smoke. Part of me wanted to deny it, to defend Claire's honor like a good husband should, but another part of me, the part that had been growing stronger and angrier with each passing day, knew Jake might be right. With Liam? With somebody. The rules, the boundaries, the sudden need for privacy, its classic cheating behavior. She wouldn't do that. The Claire you married wouldn't do that. This new version? I'm not so sure. I spent the rest of the night drinking beer and thinking about Jake's words. By the time I got home, Claire was already asleep, or pretending to be. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, watching her breathe, and tried to remember when I'd stopped feeling like her husband and started feeling like an inconvenience. The next morning brought another note, this one taped to the bathroom mirror. Went to early yoga with Liam, back this afternoon. Remember the rules. C. Early yoga with Liam. On a Saturday morning, while her husband sat alone at the kitchen table, drinking coffee and wondering when his marriage had turned into a carefully managed business relationship, I decided it was time to do some investigating. Claire's gym was called Elevation Fitness, one of those upscale places with floor-to-ceiling windows and equipment that looked like it belonged on a spaceship. I'd never been inside, but I knew where it was. About 10 minutes from our house, in the trendy part of town where everything costs twice as much as it should. I parked across the street and waited. Call it stalking if you want, but I preferred to think of it as intelligence gathering. If my wife was spending every free moment with her personal trainer, I figured I had a right to see what was so damn special about him. At 11:30, they emerged together. Claire looked flushed and happy in a way I hadn't seen in months. She was wearing those expensive yoga pants that made her legs look incredible, and her hair was pulled back in a messy bun that somehow managed to look perfect. Liam was exactly what I'd expected, tall, muscled, and young enough to make me feel ancient at 37. He had that easy confidence that comes from knowing you look good in tight clothes and never having to worry about mortgage payments or electrical permits. They stood outside the gym talking, and I could see Claire laughing at something he said. Real laughter, not the polite version she'd been giving me lately. When he put his hand on her shoulder, she didn't pull away. That's when I saw the text. Claire had pulled out her phone, and even from across the street, I could see her typing. A few seconds later, my phone buzzed. Running errands after yoga, home around 3. C. I looked up. Claire and Liam were walking toward a coffee shop 2 doors down from the gym, hand in hand. My wife had just lied to me via text message while I watched her hold hands with another man. The rationale part of my brain told me to drive home, pack a bag, and call a divorce lawyer. The angry part told me to march across the street and confront them both. But I did neither. Instead, I sat in my truck and took pictures. Not because I wanted to be creepy, but because I knew Claire would deny everything. She'd already proven she was comfortable lying to my face. If I was going to fight for my marriage, or end it, I needed proof. They spent 2 hours at that coffee shop. 2 hours of intimate conversation, touching hands across the table, and looking at each other like teenagers in love. When they finally left, Liam walked Claire to her car and kissed her goodbye. Not a friendly peck on the cheek, but a real kiss that lasted long enough to make my stomach turn. I followed Claire home, staying far enough back to avoid detection. She pulled into our driveway at exactly 3 o'clock, just like she'd promised. By the time I walked through the front door 5 minutes later, she was in the shower. "How was yoga?" I called out. "Good," she called back. "Really good workout." I'll bet it was. That evening, we had dinner with Claire's friend Ava and her husband Rick. It was supposed to be a casual barbecue at their place, but it felt more like a performance. Claire played the role of the loving wife, touching my arm and laughing at my jokes, while I tried not to think about what I'd seen that morning. Ava was one of those women who thrived on drama and gossip. She'd been Claire's friend since college, and I'd never particularly liked her. She had a way of making comments that sounded supportive, but were actually designed to stir up trouble. "You two seem so happy," she said over dessert. "I mean, after 12 years, it's amazing that you still have so much passion." Claire squeezed my hand. "We've been working on communication, haven't we, honey?" "Something like that," I said. "Liam, my trainer, he says the key to a good relationship is maintaining your individual identity while supporting your partner's growth." There it was again. Liam's wisdom, shared at our dinner table like gospel truth. "Liam sounds very wise," Ava said with a smirk, "for a personal trainer." "He's actually very intelligent," Claire said, her voice getting defensive. "He has a degree in psychology." "Of course he does," Rick muttered into his beer. The conversation moved on, but I could see Ava watching Claire with interest. She knew something was up. Hell, everyone probably knew except me. After dinner, while the women cleaned up inside, Rick and I stood on his back deck drinking beer and avoiding eye contact. "Can I ask you something?" Rick said finally. "Shoot." "Are you okay with this Liam situation?" "What do you mean?" Rick looked uncomfortable. "Look, it's not my business. But Ava says Claire talks about this guy constantly. And I mean constantly. It's always Liam thinks this and Liam says that. If it were my wife, I'd be concerned." "Have you seen them together?" "At the gym, yeah. They seem close." "Close. That was one way to put it." "What would you do?" I asked. "If it were Sarah?" Rick was quiet for a long moment. "Honestly, I'd probably lose my shit. But that's just me." When we got home that night, Claire was unusually affectionate. She curled up next to me on the couch and put her head on my shoulder, something she hadn't done in weeks. "I love you," she said quietly. "I love you too." But even as I said the words, I wondered if she was feeling guilty about something, or if this was just another performance like dinner at Ava's. The next few days fell into a strange pattern. Claire would leave early for the gym, spend hours with Liam, then come home and act like the perfect wife. She cooked my favorite meals, asked about my work, and even suggested we plan a weekend getaway. It was like living with two different people, the distant, rule-making Claire who left passive-aggressive notes, and the loving, attentive Claire who seemed desperate to prove something. I decided to test her. On Thursday evening, I suggested we go to dinner at Rosario's, the Italian place where we'd had our first date. Claire's face lit up. "That sounds wonderful. Just the two of us?" "Just the two of us." We made reservations for Saturday night. I was curious to see if Claire would cancel at the last minute or find some excuse to include Liam in our plans. Friday afternoon, my phone rang. It was Claire. "Honey, I'm so sorry, but I have to cancel tomorrow night." "Why?" "Liam's having a crisis. His ex-girlfriend is causing problems with his business, and he really needs someone to talk to." "Can't he talk to a therapist or another friend?" "Jordan, please. He doesn't have anyone else, and it's just for a few hours." "What about our dinner?" "We can reschedule. This is important." "More important than our marriage, apparently." "Fine," I said. "Cancel the reservation." "Thank you for understanding. I love you." After she hung up, I sat in my truck outside the Morrison construction office and tried to figure out my next move. I could confront Claire directly, but she'd just deny everything and probably accuse me of being controlling again. I could hire a private investigator, but that felt like admitting defeat. or I could start playing by my own rules. I called Jake. Want to go out tomorrow night? Claire's busy. Sure. What's the occasion? My wife is having an affair, and I'm tired of pretending I don't know about it. Jesus, Jordan. Are you sure? I'm sure. What are you going to do? I have no idea, but I'm done being the understanding husband. Saturday night, while Claire comforted Liam through his supposed crisis, Jake and I went to Murphy's Pub and got spectacularly drunk. Not the smartest decision I'd ever made, but it felt good to stop pretending everything was fine. You know what pisses me off the most? I said, working on my 6th beer. It's not even the cheating, it's the lying, the constant casual lying. So what's your plan? I don't have a plan. I have anger. Anger's not a plan, it's a feeling. Then help me make a plan. Jake was quiet for a moment, staring into his beer like it might contain answers. You want my advice? Document everything, get proof, and then decide if you want to save your marriage or end it. What if I want revenge? Then you better be smart about it, because Claire's not going to go down easy. I stumbled home around midnight to find Claire already in bed. She was wearing one of my old t-shirts, and for a moment she looked like the woman I'd married, young and vulnerable and beautiful. Then I remembered the kiss I'd witnessed, and the feeling passed. The next morning, I woke up with a hangover and a new sense of purpose. I was done following Claire's rules. It was time to make some of my own. Rule number 1 of my new life: stop being a passive observer in my own marriage. I started small. When Claire left for her Monday morning session with Liam, I went through her things. Not proud of it, but desperate times call for desperate measures. Her laptop was password protected, but her tablet wasn't. I found what I was looking for in her text messages. Months of conversations with Liam. Intimate conversations that made my stomach turn and my hands shake with anger. They weren't just having an affair, they were planning a life together. Claire had been researching apartments in the city, places where she could start fresh and be herself. The most damning message was from 3 days ago. Jordan suspects something. We need to be more careful. Liam's response: maybe it's time to tell him. You can't live a lie forever. Claire: not yet. I need to figure out the financial situation first. Financial situation. She was planning to take me to the cleaners. I took screenshots of everything and emailed them to myself, then deleted the evidence from her tablet. When Claire came home an hour later, glowing from her workout, I was sitting at the kitchen table reading the newspaper like nothing had happened. How was the gym? I asked. Great. Liam pushed me really hard today. I'll bet he did. That afternoon, I called in a favor with Danny Kowalski, a guy I'd known since high school who now worked as a private investigator. Danny owed me money from a poker game, and I was ready to collect. I need surveillance on my wife, I told him over lunch. Jesus, Jordan. Are you sure about this? I'm sure. What do you need? Photos, video, documentation of where she goes and who she sees. I want a complete record. This is going to cost you. How much? For you? Call it even for the poker debt. Danny was good at his job. Within a week, I had a thick folder full of evidence. Photos of Claire and Liam at restaurants, hotels, and even at his apartment. Video of them kissing, holding hands, and acting like a couple in love. The most damaging evidence was a recording Danny had made of Claire and Ava having lunch. Apparently Ava knew all about the affair and was encouraging it. You deserve to be happy, Ava's voice said through the tiny speaker on Danny's recording device. Jordan's a good guy, but he's boring. Liam makes you feel alive. I know, Claire replied. But the timing has to be right. I need to make sure I don't lose everything in the divorce. What about the house? I've been contributing more to the mortgage payments since my promotion. My lawyer thinks I have a good case for keeping it. Her lawyer? She'd already consulted a divorce attorney. I sat in my truck outside the construction site, listening to my wife plan my destruction, and felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. This wasn't just an affair. This was a calculated betrayal designed to leave me with nothing. That evening, Claire made my favorite dinner, a pot roast with all the fixings. She'd even bought a bottle of wine and lit candles. The perfect wife, playing her role to perfection. You seem happy tonight, I said. I am happy. We should do this more often. Do what? Have dinner together. Talk. Be a couple. The irony was almost too much to bear. Here she was, preaching about being a couple, while planning to leave me for another man. Claire, can I ask you something? Of course. Are you having an affair? She didn't even flinch. What? Jordan, how can you ask me that? It's a simple question. Yes or no? No, I'm not having an affair. She reached across the table and took my hand. I love you. Why would you even think that? The lie came so easily, so naturally, that I almost believed her myself. If I hadn't seen the evidence with my own eyes, I might have apologized and dropped the whole thing. Just wondering, I said. You've been different lately. Different how? Distant, like your mind is somewhere else. I've been stressed about work. You know that. Another lie. According to Danny's investigation, Claire had been leaving work early 3 days a week to spend time with Liam. Maybe we should see a counselor, I suggested. Claire's grip on my hand tightened. Do you think we need counseling? I think we need to talk to someone who can help us communicate better. If that's what you want, then yes, let's do it. But I could see the panic in her eyes. The last thing Claire wanted was a marriage counselor asking difficult questions about her behavior. The next day, I made an appointment with Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a therapist who came highly recommended. Our first session was scheduled for the following week. I didn't tell Claire that I'd also made an appointment with a divorce attorney. Marcus Webb had been practicing family law for 20 years, and he came recommended by Jake's ex-partner. His office was in a converted Victorian house downtown, the kind of place that looked more like a therapist's office than a lawyer's. "What can I do for you, Mr. Doyle?" he asked, gesturing to a leather chair across from his desk. I handed him the folder Danny had prepared. "My wife is having an affair. She's planning to divorce me and take everything we've built together. I want to know what my options are." Webb spent 20 minutes reviewing the evidence, occasionally making notes or asking questions. When he finished, he leaned back in his chair and studied me. "This is pretty damning stuff," he said. "Your wife has been planning this for months. What can I do about it? Legally? You're in a good position. Massachusetts is a no-fault divorce state, but adultery can still affect the division of assets, especially if she's been spending marital funds on her affair." "She has been. Expensive dinners, hotel rooms, gifts for Liam. We can trace those expenses. The question is, what do you want? Do you want to save your marriage or end it?" I thought about Claire's face across the dinner table, lying so easily about her affair. I thought about the rules she'd written, designed to give her freedom to cheat while keeping me under control. I thought about months of being made to feel like I was crazy for suspecting what was actually happening. "I want her to pay," I said. "Revenge is expensive, Mr. Doyle, and it's not always satisfying." "What would you do?" Webb was quiet for a moment. "If it were me, I'd confront her with the evidence and give her a chance to end the affair and save the marriage. If she refused, I'd file for divorce and fight for everything I could get. And if I wanted to get creative with my revenge, then you'd need to be very careful not to break any laws. Harassment, stalking, destruction of property, those things can come back to bite you in a divorce proceeding. What about public humiliation? As long as you're not defaming her character with false information, you can tell anyone you want about her affair. It's not illegal to tell the truth." I left Webb's office with a new understanding of my situation. I had evidence, I had legal options, and I had the moral high ground. The question was how to use those advantages most effectively. That night, Claire suggested we invite Ava and Rick over for dinner on Saturday. "That sounds great," I said. "Should we invite anyone else?" "Like who?" "I don't know. Maybe some of your work friends or Liam?" Claire's face went pale. "Why would we invite Liam?" "You talk about him all the time. I figured he must be a good friend." "He's just my trainer, Jordan. It would be weird to invite him to dinner." "Would it? I thought you two were close." "We're not that close." Another lie. According to the evidence Danny had gathered, Claire and Liam had been talking about him meeting her friends and family. They'd even discussed what they would tell people about their relationship. "Okay," I said. "Just Ava and Rick then." But I was already forming a plan. Saturday night was going to be very interesting. Saturday evening arrived with the kind of autumn chill that makes you want to stay inside with a fire and a good book. Instead, I was preparing for what might be the most important dinner party of my life. Claire had spent the afternoon cooking and cleaning, transforming our house into the perfect setting for entertaining. She was wearing a new dress I'd never seen before, black, elegant, and probably expensive. She looked beautiful, which made what I was about to do even harder. Ava and Rick arrived at 6:30, bringing wine and their usual drama. Ava was in full form, gossiping about mutual friends and making passive-aggressive comments about everything from our furniture to the meal Claire had prepared. "This roast is amazing," she said, cutting into her meat. "Where did you learn to cook like this?" "YouTube, mostly," Claire laughed. "And Liam's been teaching me about nutrition." There it was. Even at our dinner table, with her husband sitting right next to her, Claire couldn't help but bring up her lover. "Liam again," Rick said with a smirk. "This guy sounds like a real Renaissance man." He is, Claire said, missing the sarcasm entirely. He's actually very well educated. Most people assume personal trainers are just dumb jocks, but Liam has a psychology degree from Boston University. Impressive, I said. You know, I've been thinking we should have him over for dinner sometime. I'd love to meet this paragon of wisdom and fitness. Claire nearly choked on her wine. I don't think that's necessary. Why not? If he's such a good friend, I should get to know him. It would be awkward. He's my trainer, not our friend. Ava was watching this exchange with obvious interest. She knew exactly what was happening, and I could see her trying to decide whether to help Claire or enjoy the show. I think it's sweet that Jordan wants to meet your friends, Ava said finally. Most husbands wouldn't be so secure. I'm very secure, I said. In fact, I'm so secure that I've been doing some research on Liam myself. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Claire went very still, her fork halfway to her mouth. Research? Rick asked. Just curious about the man who's been having such a positive influence on my wife. I pulled out my phone and opened the folder where I'd saved Danny's photos. I even have some pictures. Jordan, Claire said quietly, what are you doing? Sharing photos with our friends. Isn't that what people do at dinner parties? I turned the phone toward Ava and Rick. The first photo showed Claire and Liam holding hands outside a restaurant downtown. The second showed them kissing in the parking lot of his apartment complex. Rick's face went white. Ava looked like she'd been caught stealing from the church collection plate. Jesus Christ, Rick whispered. Claire stood up so fast her chair fell backward. How dare you? How dare I what? Document my wife's affair? Those photos are taken out of context. What context would make it appropriate for you to kiss another man? Claire's face was flushed with anger and embarrassment. You had me followed. You violated my privacy. You violated our marriage vows. Ava finally found her voice. Maybe Rick and I should leave. No, I said. Stay. I want witnesses for this conversation. Jordan, please, Claire said, tears starting to form in her eyes. Can we discuss this privately? Like we discussed your affair privately. Oh, wait, we didn't discuss it at all. You just lied to my face for months while planning to divorce me and take half of everything I've worked for. Rick was staring at his plate like he wanted to disappear. Ava looked fascinated and horrified at the same time. I never planned to divorce you, Claire said. Really? I pulled out my phone again and opened the audio file Danny had recorded. Let's see what you told Ava over lunch last Tuesday. Claire's voice filled the room. I need to make sure I don't lose everything in the divorce. Ava's response. What about the house? Claire. I've been contributing more to the mortgage payments since my promotion. My lawyer thinks I have a good case for keeping it. The silence that followed was deafening. Claire sank back into her chair, all the fight gone out of her. Ava looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. You recorded us? Ava said finally. I documented my wife's betrayal. There's a difference. This is illegal, Claire said weakly. Actually, it's not. Massachusetts is a one-party consent state for audio recordings, and since the recordings were made in public places, there's no expectation of privacy. I'd done my homework. Rick cleared his throat. Maybe we should go. Good idea, I said. But Ava, before you leave, I want you to know that I have recordings of several conversations where you encouraged my wife to have an affair. If this goes to divorce court, you'll probably be called as a witness. Ava's face went pale. I never encouraged anything. Quote, you deserve to be happy. Jordan's a good guy, but he's boring. Liam makes you feel alive. Should I play that recording too? They left without another word, practically running to their car. I watched through the window as Rick gestured angrily at Ava, probably asking her why she'd gotten involved in our marriage. When I turned back to the dining room, Claire was crying. I'm sorry, she said. I never meant for it to happen. Which part? The affair or getting caught? The affair. I love you, Jordan. I've always loved you. Bullshit. It's true. What happened with Liam? It just happened. I didn't plan it. You've been planning it for months. I have the text messages, Claire. I know about the apartment you've been looking at. I know about the lawyer you consulted. I know about the financial records you've been gathering. She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. How long have you known? Long enough to document everything, long enough to protect myself legally, long enough to realize that the woman I married doesn't exist anymore. She does exist. I'm still here. No, you're not. The woman I married wouldn't have lied to my face every day for months. She wouldn't have made me feel crazy for suspecting what was actually happening. She wouldn't have written rules designed to give her freedom to cheat while keeping me under control. Claire flinched at the mention of the rules. I was trying to protect you? From what? From the truth. I knew it would hurt you. So you decided to lie instead? To make me feel like I was being paranoid and controlling? I didn't know how to tell you. Here's how you tell someone. Jordan, I'm having an affair. I want a divorce. It's not complicated. We sat in silence for several minutes, the ruins of our dinner party scattered around us. Finally, Claire spoke. What happens now? That depends on you. What do you mean? You have two choices. End the affair, cut all contact with Liam, and we go to marriage counseling. Or I file for divorce and use all of this evidence to make sure you get as little as possible. Those aren't real choices. They're the only choices you have left. Claire wiped her eyes with her napkin. And if I choose counseling, you'll forgive me? I'll try, but there will be conditions. Like what? Complete transparency. I get access to your phone, your email, your social media accounts. You quit the gym and find a new trainer. You end your friendship with Ava, since she was helping you lie to me, and you contribute to paying for the private investigator who documented your affair. Those conditions are impossible. Then choose divorce. Claire stood up and started clearing the dishes, her movements sharp and angry. You've really thought this through, haven't you? I've had time to think while you were fucking your personal trainer. She dropped a plate and it shattered on the kitchen floor. Don't talk to me like that. Like what? Honestly? I thought you wanted better communication in our marriage. This isn't communication. This is revenge. You're right. It is revenge. And this is just the beginning. Claire turned to face me, her eyes blazing with anger. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm done playing by your rules. From now on, we play by mine. And what are your rules? I smiled, and I knew it wasn't a pleasant expression. Rule number 1. Actions have consequences. Rule number 2. Lies have a way of becoming public. Rule number 3. Betrayal is expensive. You can't threaten me. I'm not threatening you. I'm promising you. You wanted to play games with our marriage? Congratulations. You just lost. Claire spent the night in the guest bedroom. I lay awake in our bed, staring at the ceiling and planning my next move. The confrontation had felt good, but it wasn't enough. Claire had humiliated me for months, making me doubt my own sanity while she carried on her affair. A simple divorce wouldn't balance those scales. I wanted her to feel what I'd felt. I wanted her to experience the humiliation, the betrayal, the loss of everything she thought she could control. I wanted her to understand that some games have consequences she never saw coming. The next morning, Claire was gone. No note, no explanation, just an empty guest bedroom and a house that felt hollow without her presence. I found out where she'd gone when Liam posted a photo on Instagram. Claire sleeping peacefully in what was obviously his bed, with the caption, "Perfect Sunday morning with my perfect girl." The arrogance was breathtaking. Not only had my wife moved in with her lover, but he was broadcasting it to the world like some kind of victory lap. I screenshot the post and added it to my growing file of evidence. Then I called Marcus Webb. "She's moved in with him," I told the lawyer. "That was fast. How do you feel about it?" "Relieved, mostly. Now I don't have to pretend to consider reconciliation." "What's your next move?" "I want to file for divorce immediately, and I want to make sure everyone knows why. Be careful, Jordan. Don't do anything that could hurt your case." "Like what?" "Like harassment, like public defamation, like anything that makes you look like the bad guy." But I wasn't planning to be the bad guy. I was planning to be the guy who told the truth. Monday morning, I went to work early and found Marty in his office, reviewing blueprints over coffee and a cigarette he wasn't supposed to be smoking. "You look like hell," he said without looking up. Claire moved out. She's living with her personal trainer now. Marty finally looked at me. "Jesus, I'm sorry, kid." "Don't be sorry. Be angry. I am." "What are you going to do?" "Divorce her. Take her for everything I can get. Make sure everyone knows what kind of person she really is." That last part sounds like trouble. It's not defamation if it's true. Marty stubbed out his cigarette and leaned back in his chair. "You want some advice from someone who's been divorced twice?" "Sure." "Don't let revenge consume you. It feels good in the moment, but it'll poison everything else in your life." "What would you do?" "Probably exactly what you're planning to do. That's why I've been divorced twice." I spent the morning running electrical wire through the walls of a new office building, letting the physical work calm my mind and organize my thoughts. By lunch, I had a plan. Step 1. Make sure everyone in our social circle knew the truth about Claire's affair. Step 2. Document every financial transaction related to her betrayal. Step 3. File for divorce and fight for everything. Step 4. Make sure her professional reputation suffered the same damage she'd inflicted on our marriage. I started with Step 1. That evening, I created a group text message that included all of our mutual friends, people from work, neighbors, couples we'd socialized with over the years. The message was simple and factual. Hi, everyone. I wanted to let you know that Claire and I are getting divorced. She's been having an affair with her personal trainer for several months and has moved in with him. I thought you should hear it from me rather than through gossip. Thanks for your friendship over the years. Jordan. I attached 3 photos: Claire and Liam kissing, Claire and Liam holding hands, and a screenshot of Liam's Instagram post from that morning. The responses started coming within minutes. Shock, sympathy, anger on my behalf. Several people mentioned that they'd suspected something but hadn't wanted to say anything. A few admitted they'd seen Claire and Liam together around town. The most satisfying response came from Rick. I'm so sorry, man. Ava feels terrible about encouraging Claire. She wants to apologize. Too little, too late. But at least Ava was facing consequences for her role in the betrayal. Step 2 required more creativity. I went through our credit card statements and bank records, identifying every expense related to Claire's affair, dinners at expensive restaurants on nights when she'd told me she was working late, hotel rooms charged during her supposed business trips, gifts she'd claimed were for her sister, but had actually been for Liam. The total came to over $8,000 of marital funds spent on her affair, money we'd saved for a vacation, for home improvements, for our future together. Step 3 was straightforward. I met with Marcus Webb again and officially filed for divorce, citing adultery and requesting an unequal division of assets based on Claire's infidelity and misuse of marital funds. Step 4 was the most delicate. Claire worked for a prestigious PR firm that valued discretion and family values. Her boss, Patricia Morrison, was a conservative woman who'd built her business on traditional principles, the kind of woman who wouldn't appreciate having an adulterous employee representing her company. I didn't contact Patricia directly. Instead, I made sure the truth reached her through other channels. I mentioned Claire's situation to Marty, knowing he was friends with Patricia's husband. I shared my story with neighbors, knowing some of them moved in the same professional circles as Claire's firm. Within a week, the gossip network had done its work. Claire's affair was common knowledge throughout our small city. That's when she called me. You bastard, she said without preamble. You've ruined everything. I've told the truth. There's a difference. Patricia is furious. She's talking about letting me go. Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to represent the company while carrying on a public affair. It wasn't public until you made it public. It became public when your boyfriend posted photos of you on social media. I just made sure people understood the context. You're destroying my life. I'm responding to you destroying our marriage. This is insane. Normal people get divorced without trying to ruin each other. Normal people don't lie to their spouse's face for months while planning to take them for everything in a divorce. Claire was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was different, smaller, more vulnerable. Can we meet? To talk about this like adults? We can meet with our lawyers present. Please, Jordan, just the 2 of us. One conversation. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at Murphy's Pub, the same place where Jake had first suggested that Claire was having an affair. She looked tired and stressed, her perfect facade finally showing cracks. I made a mistake, she said as soon as I sat down. Which mistake? The affair or getting caught? Both. All of it. I never meant for things to go this far. How far did you mean for them to go? I don't know. I was confused. Liam made me feel young and exciting again. Being with him was like being someone else. Someone who wasn't married to me. Someone who wasn't responsible for anyone else's happiness. For the first time since this whole mess started, Claire sounded honest. Not manipulative or calculating, just tired and confused. So, you decided to blow up our marriage instead of talking to me about how you felt? I tried to talk to you. Remember the rules? I was trying to create space to figure things out. The rules weren't about creating space. They were about controlling me while you had your affair. Maybe. I don't know anymore. We sat in silence for several minutes, drinking beer and avoiding eye contact. Finally, Claire spoke. What do you want from me? I want you to understand what you've done. Not just the affair, but the lying, the gaslighting, making me feel crazy for suspecting what was actually happening. I understand. Do you? Because you're sitting here asking me to fix this mess you created. You're still trying to control the situation. I'm not trying to control anything. I'm trying to salvage something from the wreckage. There's nothing to salvage, Claire. You made your choice when you moved in with Liam. That was a mistake. I was angry and hurt, and I wasn't thinking clearly. Are you still living with him? Yes, but then you're still making the same choice every day. Claire finished her beer and stood up. I can see there's no point in trying to reason with you. Reason? You want to talk about reason? Here's some reason for you. Actions have consequences. You chose to have an affair. You chose to lie about it. You chose to plan a divorce that would leave me with nothing. Now you get to live with the consequences of those choices. And what about your choices? What about this campaign of revenge you're waging? What about it? Don't you think there will be consequences for you too? Probably. But I can live with the consequences of telling the truth. Can you live with the consequences of lying? She left without answering, and I finished my beer alone, thinking about Marty's warning not to let revenge consume me. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was going too far. But then I remembered the months of gaslighting, the casual lies, the rules designed to control my behavior while Claire did whatever she wanted. I remembered the humiliation of discovering that everyone knew about her affair except me. Some things deserved consequences. Some betrayals demanded a response. Claire had wanted to play games with our marriage. Now she was learning that some games have rules she never understood and penalties she never saw coming. The divorce proceedings began the following week. Thanks to the evidence I'd gathered, Marcus Webb was confident we could get a favorable settlement. Claire's lawyer tried to argue that her affair was irrelevant in a no-fault divorce state, but the financial records told a different story. $8,000 of marital funds spent on her affair, hotel rooms, dinners, gifts for her lover. In Massachusetts, that kind of waste of marital assets could definitely affect the division of property. But the real victory came when Patricia Morrison finally acted on the gossip that had been circulating about Claire's affair. She didn't fire Claire directly. That would have opened the company to a wrongful termination lawsuit. Instead, she restructured Claire's position, removing her from client-facing roles and reducing her responsibilities. The message was clear. Adultery had professional consequences in a business built on reputation and trust. Claire tried to fight it, but her position was indefensible. You can't represent family values while publicly carrying on an affair. You can't advise clients on reputation management while your own reputation is in ruins. Within a month, she had resigned and taken a lower-paying job with a smaller firm across town. The final blow came when Liam's ex-girlfriend, motivated by jealousy or justice, sent me a video that Liam had apparently shared with friends. It showed Claire in a compromising position, clearly recorded without her knowledge or consent. I didn't share the video. That would have been cruel and possibly illegal. But I did let Claire know that it existed and that her boyfriend wasn't the discreet gentleman she thought he was. She broke up with him the next day and moved into a studio apartment downtown. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. I kept the house, most of our savings, and my dignity. Claire got her freedom and a hard lesson about the cost of betrayal. I never saw her again after the final court hearing, but I heard through mutual friends that she'd struggled to rebuild her life. The affair that was supposed to make her feel young and exciting had instead left her professionally damaged, financially diminished, and socially isolated. Some people said I'd gone too far, that revenge had made me cruel. Maybe they were right. But I slept well at night, knowing that actions have consequences and lies eventually come to light. Claire had wanted to rewrite the rules of our marriage. In the end, she learned that some rules are written in stone, and betrayal always comes with a price.